let's take a look at the next SharePoint in Practice Toolkit tool, the policy manual. So think about this. You have a large manual, maybe it's PDF or Word, and every time somebody needs to open it, they have to open up that big old Word document or that PDF. Instead, let's consider having this policy manual in SharePoint. The way that we're going to do it here is we're going to create a series of site pages in SharePoint that will capture those policies and make them searchable, and we're going to create a little online index using SharePoint views. So looking here at the SharePoint in Practice Intranet Build Toolkit, the question is, how can we present a large and complex manual so it's easy to navigate? And how can we convert it into SharePoint? That's where you want to drive people to. That's where you want them to go to find information. So perfect place for handbooks or policies or standard operating procedures. Of course, this is a policy manual we're showing here, but consider any large document in this format. So why would we go to site pages over a large document? So first of all, site pages are viewable in your web browser, so you don't need to open up Word or Acrobat. You can also post pages as news or show them in the navigation menu in SharePoint, so they're easy to get to, easy to open. They're quick and easy to edit just in your web browser. Linking pages together, really useful when you want to have one policy that refers to another or have links to pages in your site. And then web pages, this is an interesting nuance. Web pages, kind of like a PDF, they feel like they're complete. Whereas a Word document, if I open up a Word document, it feels like I'm still working on it. So when you're doing a policy manual, you probably don't want it to be stored in Word anyway. You could do PDF, but again, here's some advantages. And then consider this, that you can convert your Word document to site pages relatively easily, and I'm going to show you how to do that. Okay, let's pop over to the SharePoint in Practice Microsoft 365 site, and let's take a look at this policy manual in action. Okay, here's the SharePoint in Practice site that you have a login to from your SharePoint in Practice toolkit, and up here in the tools, we've covered all of these up to policy manual. Here it is. So let's go there. Okay, I've called this tool for policy manual here on the page. You would probably just call it your policy manual or standard operating procedures. Choose whatever image you want at the top. And on the right-hand column, we have a questions or suggestions contact thing. I like to include this on all pages, make it easy for people to find out, who do I talk to? This is, of course, a people web part in your page setup. Now, the interesting part on the left-hand side here is the policy index. Notice this is a grouped view in SharePoint. We can group things, and what we have is a series of sections, and within the sections I have policies, and let's take a look at this banking policy, for example. So what you see is that each of these policies has a standard structure. There's a header with the title, and that's the same title you see in the index. Then there's a body section at the bottom here, and on the right-hand side is the index again. So, it wasn't actually the banking policy, it was the health benefits I wanted to go to. So it's just a standard structure. And the interesting thing about these pages is the index and how the index gets created. So I'm going to show you that right now. In our site contents on the site, we can go to the Site Pages library, and that's a page library. And this is where all your site pages and your news articles are stored. So what I've done is I've added a couple of fields here. We'll see this in the design when we look at that, but I've added a section, a subsection, and a sequence field to this library. I also added a page type here as well, actually. And then all we do is on the ones that are policy pages, let's take a look at this one. Let me look at my information panel for this particular policy page. And here it is. It's called RSPs in Retirement. It's the site page named with that. It has a title and a subsection. Page type is policy page, and this section is financial policies. So if I was to enter a subsection here, we can further classify the policies. And then those subsection fields are used to create an index, and that is called the index view here. So it's just a grouped view, and all we have to set up this view is, let me just edit the view and show you. Notice the only thing that I'm showing here is the title, link to item with edit menu. I could just link to item without the menu there actually. Then I'm sorting by sequence number. So the sequence is just allowing us to sort by something other than alphabetical if we want that. It's optional. Then because this is a policy index, I'm not going to show news articles and site pages. I'm just going to say where the page type is equal to a policy page. So I'm filtering out anything that's not a policy page in this particular view. And where the magic really happens is down here, group by section. Now, if I was using subsection field, I would put it here. But right now, for the simple version of this, I'm just grouping by the section. I don't have folders. Otherwise, I would normally show all items without folders. The other thing that's often handy in these views is the tabular view, and unchecking this individual items checkboxes makes it just a bit more compact view. It removes the checkbox to the left-hand side of the item. So that's the index view, and it ends up looking like this. And then we just add that view to every one of our policy pages. Just really quickly, I'll edit this page to show you, and then we have a web part on the right-hand side here, which is a document library web part. And you just choose the library, site pages, and the view that you want to use. And that will display that view there. Okay, that's about all there is to how it works. Let's take a look more at how it's built. So back to the Intranet Build Toolkit, and here's our standard design structure, the SharePoint in Practice design for the policy manual. Links to what we were just looking at, and here's the setup. So we're going to customize the site pages library. We're going to go there and we're going to add a page type, section, etc. Those listed below here, and views as listed below. So here's the policy manual page library. And notice we're using the site pages library here, or we could use a special policies library. The point here, and we're going to mention it in governance as well, is that you can customize the site pages library, and that's quick and easy, or you can create a new library that's dedicated to policies. Here's our SharePoint description. This would be copied and pasted into the description for that library. And here's the structure. These are the columns we add. So this is a standard page library plus a page type field, which is a choice, a section and subsection field used to categorize these. Now, something you may want to experiment with, and I'm curious about it myself, is if we use manage metadata fields, we may not need the section and subsection. Manage metadata, of course, has structure, so you can have subsections or sub tags within a manage metadata field. So there's going to be a way to parse that out. It might require a flow to make it work to create section, subsection fields, but it might be a bit tidier because notice the subsection is actually not connected to the section here. It's just a single line of text. Now, I usually include a sequence number here. The sequence number is used to sort the pages so that you can do something other than just random. Notice it defaults to 50, so that as I'm adding pages, they all have 50, and then I can add above and below that number to force the sort, and then all the views use this sort order sequence. Page owner, if you want to manage the policies a bit more tightly, you can add a page owner field to say who is responsible for this page, and page review date. Again, you could use this to say when does this page need to be updated, because they're policies, maybe they need to be updated annually. I've set this to 6 months from today, so the default is square brackets today plus 183. That's a really useful little feature you can do in SharePoint. And why not have a notes field? And then we list our views. All pages the default. Here's the index one that I showed you, just showing the title, making it clickable so they can click on that, view that page. And there's the filter and the sequence and the group by, and optionally by subsection. Recent pages is useful. Group by owner. If you're managing by owner, use that group by owner field. And for review, you can use a filter to show only pages that are within 30 days of today. All right, so let's take a look at adding some policy pages now. So you can create a new page. This is, again, we're creating in the site pages library, and we're going to name that, and we'll fill it in, policy materials, and customize the page further. So let's take a look at this in SharePoint in Practice. So if I go new page, I'll start with a blank page, and now this will be an example policy for video. I like to give all of them an image, so I'll just grab an image here and policy text here. I'm going to edit this section 1/3 right, and I'm going to put the index here. So a document library, there it is. The library, of course, is site pages, and the view is index. I don't want the command bar. I don't want to see all button. I'm going to apply that. And before I publish, I'm going to go to page details. So here in the page details, this is where I can modify my metadata fields. So let's say this is going to be sequence 1, put it near the beginning, and we'll review it. We'll leave the default there actually. Page type is a policy page. And here's the section. Let's say this is financial policies, and we'll leave the rest of those. Okay. Now I can save as draft, or I can publish. Now when I publish, one of the options here is save pages template. So this is a recommended practice for these policy manuals. Create a template page so that you would use the same structure all the time. I'm not going to do any of that right now, but notice I'm seeing my site pages and index here, and my example policy for video shows up. So I've just added a new policy. Okay, I've still got no text in this policy. Let's look at adding text from a Microsoft Word document. Let me go back to my Word version of the manual here, and let me just grab this policy manual page library text. I want to make sure I get a table, some formatted text, and some images to show you how they paste. So let me just grab this section, and I'm going to Control-C, copy it, go back to the example policy for video. I'm going to edit this, and here I have a text box. Just to show you more explicitly, I'll just add a new web part here. It's a text web part, and now I'm just going to Control-V or paste in policy manual library. So there's some things that this is pretty good what it does actually. There's some things you would want to go and reformat, like this lost the bolding here. I like to put more space between my paragraphs, which is lost, so some of the styles change. But the tables come across pretty good. Here's my views. Notice these can use styles here. So maybe this is a heading 3 style. Again, I want to use spacing. Let's make this heading 4 actually. And this is heading 3, etc. Now notice also the images have come in, and this is relatively new. When we used to paste from Word, we wouldn't get the images. So here's the images there, and the caption to the image is there. So that's coming as well. Maybe I want that italics. Okay, so there's another one, another caption like that, and I might be able to use a style for that as well. Here, let's just republish and see what it looks like. Okay, so here we have it. Example policy for video. And look at that, the styles have come across quite well, the tables look good, the images are there, they're clickable to zoom in. So it's pretty easy. So if you were going to convert a large Word document, you would create a bunch of sections, index them, and then paste in section by section. Break up your Word document in different pieces into this page library. All right, let's go back to the toolkit and talk about governance. Creating a standard template page for consistency and ease of navigation. So make sure that you follow your standards in your governance guide, and make sure you keep your policy pages up to date. For example, the review view and the owners field, to make sure that people update their content. And this is an important one. Think about who can edit the pages, who can add new policies or edit existing. There is version history tracked in these pages, so you could allow people to edit and then undo their edits if you don't want them, but usually you'll have a small group of people that are allowed to edit these policy pages. So this is a page library, so the permissions are manageable. Now consider this, that the site pages library is used for all pages, including news. So if you want people to post news, they'll also have the ability to create policies in the way this is set up. So if you want to separate these two, some people use news, some people use policies, and never the twain shall meet, then you definitely need to create this page library of policies as a separate library or as a subfolder. Different ways we can enhance this: the reminder flow in Power Automate, let people know it's time to update your pages. And modern search is getting to be more and more solid now at the time of this video. So you could have some really complex search terms built in there. Of course, the policy manual is searchable just out of the box using SharePoint, but you could have some more advanced search capabilities. Status field, we often see that, draft or published, and then you would hide the draft ones from certain people. Printing could be a little tricky in SharePoint because it's web pages, so this is something to explore in terms of the enhancement. Consider metadata to categorize by different types of policies. And this is one that I've used in the real world. consider subfolders. So some policies managed by different departments. By putting policy pages into folders, you can manage the permissions of that folder and thereby allow certain people to edit certain policies and others to only read. That can be done very easily by folders. But then, of course, you would use views to show all files without folders, as you saw earlier in this video. And site content types are always a good idea. So I haven't done that here in this example, but you could do it. All right, there's a simple policy manual. Move your policies or your employee handbook or whatever it might be into a SharePoint structure, site pages, make them accessible and dynamic and attractive to look at, easy to edit, easy to manage permissions. You have SharePoint in your hands already with Microsoft 365. Use it more fully. Thanks for listening. Stay in touch.
See comments for links and special offers.